people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this. Some quick picks, weekend picks for what is a busy weekend of action. Those of you that have been following the channel will already know that I am going with Sky Nicholson to outpoint Linda Leka on the undercard of Cordina versus Rakhimov. I believe there's a reason they landed on Linda Leka, and it's because they know that she won't pressure Sky Nicholson. She won't make her uncomfortable. She will allow Sky to, in turn, pressure her. Work on being a busier fighter, a more prolific puncher, and I think she will be. I think she's going to get the job done. I think she's going to win on points. And on that same undercard, we're going to see Sandy Ryan versus Marie-Pierre Houle for what is the newly vacated WBO title at welterweight. And I've got Sandy. If push comes to shove, Sandy's got more ways of winning a fight than Marie, who's a hard puncher, a volume puncher. But I think she's going to be one step behind. I think in this fight, she's always going to be one step behind Sandy Ryan, who can brawl and box. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and there's more than one way to win a boxing match. Sandy Ryan, I figured that Marie-Pierre Houle is going to march forward looking to trade punches mid-range to inside, and Sandy's going to beat those feet, create space, and pick Marie off from the outside, walking her into punches, hard ones. I don't rule out a knockout. Sandy's strong enough to do it, though conservatively I'm going with Sandy on points because Marie-Pierre Houle is an unbeaten fighter. She's never been stopped before. Sandy Ryan on points is the conservative prediction. I'm going with Sandy. Similar logic, similar dynamic when it comes to that card's main event, the Joe Cordina versus Shavkat Rakhimov fight. Shavkat Rakhimov, like Marie-Pierre Houle, is a mid-range to inside fighter, a pressure fighter who stays in character, and where that might have been enough to wear out and overwhelm Zelfa Barrett, I don't think he's going to have that same luck with Joe Cordina. I think Joe Cordina is going to pick him off. I think he's going to stop him, reclaim the IBF title, using Shavkat Rakhimov's aggression against him. He's going to walk him into something hard. He's going to set him up. He's going to be a two-time IBF champion. I've got Joe Cordina winning tomorrow's fight by way of knockout or technical knockout. When it comes to the Babich versus Rozanski card, on the undercard, we're going to be seeing unbeaten Grzyb of Poland take on Italy's own Cecchi for what is the Super Bantamweight Division's EBU title. And I've got Grzyb winning a points decision opposite the ring, the very raw, the very crude Cecchi, who when frustrated will resort to dirty boxing, though because Laura is a more polished fighter with a better amateur background than Maria, she will show the neater, tidier work. She will win a points decision, unless we forget, if nothing else, she does have home field advantage. So if things are nip and tuck inside the rounds, she'll likely get all the consideration from the judges. I've got Laura winning on points and becoming the Super Bantamweight Division's EBU champion. And the main event for what is the newly vacated WBC Men's Bridgerweight title. A battle of the unbeatens. Unbeaten Alen the Savage Babich versus Rozanski. Lucas has got home field advantage here. The people at KO Boxing Promotions fought hard to ensure that they would have the run of the place, that they would have the rights to this fight. Alen Babich wasn't happy about that, but it just is what it is. These are the circumstances. He'll be opposite the ring Lucas Rozanski, who doesn't throw caution to the wind the same way that Alen Babich does. I mean, if you know anything about Alen Babich, you'll know that he's made for TV, but the same thing that makes him such an exciting fighter is the same thing that one day is going to get him knocked out, and that day could be this weekend. He's been hurt more than once, dropped more than once, and while he might have been able to power through it at this level, there is a legitimate argument that he may get stopped this weekend. Lucas Rozanski, he packs a decent-sized punch the same way that Alen Babich does, but he sets his shots up better than Alen. Works off the jab a bit better than Alen. His punches are a bit tighter, more defensible than Alen's. I think the saving grace for Alen Babich is that it has been a long while since Lucas Rozanski saw action, roughly 2 years. So he's got significant ring rust that he will need to shake off. Roughly 2 years. This guy hasn't had a fight since May of 2021, when he knocked out Artur Spilka in just one round. I don't read too much into that first round knockout because Artur Spilka, that guy's got a glass jaw. He don't take the best punch. But it was a highlight reel knockout and a strong showing for Lukas Rozanski. But that was close to 2 years ago, just a week or two shy of 2 years. Opposite the ring, Alen Babic. Lukas Rozanski's gonna have a physical, rough and tumble fighter, a guy who's gonna rush him, come right at him. That is not what you want to have to deal with when you're shaking off ring rust. Alen is a little bigger, a little taller than Lukas Rozanski. It's a 50-50 fight. It's a 50-50 fight because Lukas Rozanski does have considerable ring rust to shake off, though when he's active, when he's fighting, he's actually decent. He's pretty good. But Alen Babic, in his fashion, he's not going to give this guy room to breathe. He's going to put this guy in a situation to where either he's going to knock out Alen or Alen is going to run him over. There's no safe bet. If you're familiar with Alen Babic, you've seen him hurt before. You've seen him down before. He's one of these guys that he's on borrowed time, and it's just a question of when is it going to backfire, because you know it's going to. His aggressiveness. There's no safe bet. It's a pick'em fight, but I'm going to take it on faith. I'm going to take it on faith that Alen Babic will tidy things up enough that he'll secure the W. He'll secure the knockout. It's a fight where either guy could knock out either guy. Maybe I've got a soft spot for Alen Babic, and maybe that's going to backfire tomorrow, but there really is only one way to find out. I'm going with Alen Babic to win, and win by way of knockout or technical knockout, to become this division's WBC Bridgerweight champion. And of course, this weekend's ensemble piece, the fight that everybody's talking about, more or less, the fight between unbeaten Ryan Garcia versus unbeaten Gervonta Davis. A somewhat hard fight to call because I don't have a high opinion of Gervonta Davis's boxing. I think he is a fighter who, for the most part, is all about smoke and mirrors. He's a phony. A shameless phony. And given how much has already come to the light in the buildup of this match, the catch weight, the rehydration clause, the spies in Ryan Garcia's camp. Ryan Garcia is not the finished product, you know. And I've been saying it all in the buildup. This is a fighter who isn't that far removed from a prospect. The best guy he ever fought was Luke Campbell, and that was 3 years ago. It's not like the opponent selection has gotten better since then. It hasn't. Ryan Garcia's career, in spite of how young he is, it's been too stop and start for me. You get to know a fighter over time. As they step up in class, as they step up in competition, you find out more about them, that who they are. They'll show you. I think that Ryan Garcia is a courageous young man who believes in himself, at least for this fight. He sacrificed quite a bit to be able to get Gervonta Davis in the ring. For what it's worth, I actually think he wants it more. Gervonta seems rattled to me. He seems bothered. Ryan getting the better end of the exchanges at the press conferences in the build-up says a lot about what kind of headspace he's in. At least he believes he's going to get the job done. He believes he's going to shock the world. Though myself, I don't have that kind of belief in him. I'm no wide-eyed optimist. I'm a realist. Approximately 9 months of inactivity. It's been 9 months since Ryan Garcia's last fight, the Javier Fortuna fight. Now, I don't think he's sharp enough, or as sharp as he could be, going into this thing. Tack on the weight stipulations, the rehydration clause. That's no small matter. That's no small detail. They're not even letting this guy rehydrate properly. And Gervonta Davis is doing all of this for a fighter that he himself describes as being incomplete. That all he really has is a left hand. Well, you could have fooled me. You're doing the most. The most to have a competitive edge over what you describe as an incomplete fighter. This guy's shameless. He's a fucking coward is what he is. That entire outfit is made for cowards. Made for cowards by cowards. Other cowards who support these shenanigans. It's all about keeping up appearances for Gervonta Davis and keeping up appearances at the PBC. They want him to appear a better fighter than he actually is, whilst handicapping his opponent. They negotiate like cowards because they are cowards. If Ryan goes in there and he gets knocked out, for the most part, that's expected. But if Gervonta Davis goes in there and gets knocked out, it's a catastrophe.
Tank Davis fought Barrios at 140. Straight up. No stipulations. Straight up. Wasn't concerned about the weight class. But for this one, obviously there's concern because fight has to be at 136. He can't gain more than 10 pounds. What does that say about what Tank feels about, or his team feel about Ryan Garcia?
They respect him, number one. And I don't like the weight clause. No. I don't like the rehydration clause. You know, and people will point to Floyd Mayweather and Canelo is different. Floyd was older. Canelo was in his prime or just right, knocking on the door of his prime. It's a different situation. Floyd had already paid his dues.
Right.
Yeah.
So, for me, if I'm Gervonta, I'm not gonna make you do that because I don't want no excuses.
Right.
And I really want to show the world that, dude, I didn't. You're not weight drained. It wasn't no stipulation that made you weak. As far as Ryan Garcia, they should have never took that. Should have never took that. Like, I can give you certain things. I can give on certain things that don't affect me physically. You want to walk last? Cool, I'll give you that. You want to be announced last? If that's what's going to get the fight done, I'll give you that. But that, I'm not going to do that. What Ryan should have did was use his social media following, stop the negotiation and say, hey, I want to get the fight done. He's trying to drain me. So I'm just letting y'all know this is what's holding it up. And that might have been a difference maker.
I've said it many times in the build-up that Ryan is not an established force at either lightweight or super lightweight. A lot of people are billing this as the quote-unquote best versus the best, but neither Ryan Garcia or Gervonta Davis have established themselves as the best in show at 135 or at 140, though Gervonta being more experienced than Ryan Garcia. Why should he have to implement all these weight clauses if he's confident in his abilities?
Because he's not confident in his abilities, and neither are his handlers. Otherwise, they wouldn't need to do this.
It's not like he hasn't fought at 140 pounds before. He has.
And it's not like he's fighting some top-notch super lightweight like a Josh Taylor or a Regis Prograis, to where maybe you do need to balance the scales a bit. Maybe. Ryan is not those things.
Ryan Garcia is not to Gervonta Davis what, say, Chad Dawson was to Andre Vord.
What do you need all these weight stipulations for? You're not even letting this guy rehydrate properly, and that's the point. You don't want him to. You want to weaken him.
Real quick, lastly on that, what do you think that does? I mean, the last time, I guess you weighed in the same day was the amateurs, right? When you weighed in the same day you're fighting. What can that do to Ryan? He's weighing in at 11 a.m. Does he have enough time to rehydrate and get back to 100% or no?
I did it with the IBF when I fought Kovalev.
Right.
And I hated it. Because what you're doing is the night before and the morning of, you eating, you getting on the scale. You drinking, you getting on the scale. So that's still on your mind when really that was supposed to be put to bed the night before. I made the weight, I'm good. So it's going to affect him. He got sucked down 2 or 3 pounds, lower than what he's used to doing. That's a big deal. And then the weight cap pushed to 11 a.m., that's a big deal. So I'm going to say this. That might be the difference maker in this fight.
Wow.
And I say that because those 3 or 4 pounds, that cap the next day, that may be the difference between you taking a good shot and shaking it off or going down and going out.
When does your strength usually return after you make weight?
You don't fully get it back in 24 hours. You do the best you can to hydrate. That's the biggest thing your body wants. Even more than food is fluid. Give me fluids, let me fill out. So it's fluids first and then the food. You just do the best you can. I don't think any fighter who makes a weight gets back to 100%. You get as far as you can. We took 8 weeks to tear that off.
Right.
So I'm going to get that back in 24? The scale may say I got it back, but in reality I didn't.
They knew exactly what they were doing and why they were doing it, and in truth, so do we. We know exactly why they incorporated all these weight stipulations. They made it a situation to where this fight don't go down unless Ryan lets these guys handicap him.
So if Gervonta Davis is the genuine article, what's he got to do all this stuff for?
You never want to spend more time on the intangibles of a match than the match itself, the stylistic matchup. You never want to have to do that, and there is far too much going on here. 9 months of inactivity.
A catch weight, a rehydration clause.
Moles surveying Ryan Garcia's preparation in camp and then relaying that information back to Leonard Ellerby, back to Gervonta Davis. I'm sorry, but I cannot pick Ryan Garcia to win this fight.
Gervonta Davis and his entire team are a bunch of fucking cowards. Shameless fucking cowards.
And that's why I think he's going to win this weekend. That's why I think he's going to knock out Ryan Garcia, because they've gotten him to the point to where the first hard shot that lands, the first clean one, might be enough to take him out. He's boiled down to 135. He hasn't been allowed to rehydrate properly. All of this affects a fighter's punch resistance, and they know that.
Of course they do. That's why they did it.
Now maybe Ryan Garcia, given how much he's already sacrificed, maybe he knows something that we don't know. He really believes in himself, and that's compelling, though not convincing.
I'm not.
I'm not convinced. I'm convinced that the shameless cowardice of Gervonta Davis will allow him to keep his unblemished record intact. That Ryan Garcia gave up too much, far too much, to get Gervonta Davis in the ring, enough that Devin Haney wouldn't adhere to this, or Shakur Stevenson.
They're basically telling you that unless you let them rig the game, they don't want to play with you.
What it is, what I expect to see from the opening bell is Ryan getting off to a decent start behind his lead hand, his height, his length, his jab, and his speed.
He'll do okay in the beginning. A lot of guys do against Gervonta Davis.
For God's sake, Rolly Romero was doing all right at the start. He was winning the battle of the jabs. He got Gervonta Davis circling away from the action, trying to fight off the back foot.
And he got caught.
I don't like Ryan's chances in this fight due to the weight stipulations and how that might affect his performance, in particular, his punch resistance. Can we trust that he's going to go 12 rounds with Gervonta Davis and not take a hard shot?
Not take a hard shot at any point, because at any point, if a hard shot gets in based on these circumstances, he goes out.
I imagine it won't be that dissimilar from what we saw in the Rolly Romero fight, to where Gervonta Davis was losing the battle of the jabs, struggling to get within striking distance of his opponent.
Gervonta Davis is a bit of a slow starter.
It's not uncommon for him to get touched up by shots, touched up and lumped up by punches at the start of a fight. We saw that in the Barrios fight, the Santa Cruz fight, the Romero fight, more recently, the Hector Garcia fight.
It's not uncommon.
I think at the start, Ryan's going to do all right, and Gervonta Davis is going to give his height, his length, his power, and his speed a lot of respect in the beginning.
I also think it's important to note that Ryan Garcia's best bet, his best chance to win this fight, is to clip Gervonta Davis early.
Say in the first 6 rounds, before Gervonta Davis figures him out.
That's his best bet, and if it's going to happen, I think it would happen then.
Maybe Ryan Garcia's jabbing this kid's head off, he's having success, and then Gervonta Davis decides to slip and counter, try to bring over a straight left hand or a looping left hand.
You know, a lot of people have pointed out that when Gervonta Davis goes to throw that particular punch, he drops his right-handed, and dropping his right hand, he's open for a left hook. That's Ryan's best bet. That's his best chance.
To clip him, he's got to kill him quick, and he's got to shoot that left hook. That's his best opportunity, though, because
Davis is more experienced than Ryan. He's got more rounds in the bank, so I think he'll be a little bit more poised under the hot lights, a little bit more patient. He'll sacrifice rounds.
Ryan Garcia will begin to get a sense of confidence at the success that he's having, like many of Gervonta Davis's previous opponents.
But if Ryan don't take him out early, what's going to happen is
Gervonta Davis will make it his mission to take the fight to Ryan Garcia. Not by throwing punches and jabbing his way in, but by slipping and sliding.
inching forward.
Inching forward as he does it to stay out of the way of Ryan Garcia's straight punches. I don't trust Ryan's feet.
To manage the distance, I don't.
That's very important for this assignment. He's got to try and keep Gervonta Davis at arm's length and on the outside.
I'm not convinced that he will. I'm convinced that after a while, you're going to see a conscious effort from Gervonta Davis to slip past the straight shots and get mid-range to inside on Ryan. And Ryan's not going to know how to deal with that.
He'll inch forward, baiting Ryan Garcia to throw so he can counter what he throws.
That's how I think Ryan's going to get caught.
So I have Davis by way of knockout.